Hey, good morning, everybody. It's Hammer. Today is Thursday, October 2nd, 2025. I, of course, am Hammer, founder of Originator Success, Grab and Go Social, and Rate Sensei. So if you'd like to learn more about those products, go check them out. Remember, you can join me live each and every weekday morning, 9:30 a.m. Eastern Time. Let me move this a little. I think we're getting a little too much. Oh, I don't like that either. Hold on. Getting a little. I should probably front light this, so I'm going to do that. No, the lights will. You guys can live with it for today. It's not the best lighting here. Oh, wait, there we go. Give it a little wiggle there. Well, I don't think that made much of a difference, did it? There it goes. Okay. So anyway, good morning, y'all. Appreciate you. Let me take those off. They're just making everything. There you are. So if you're here this morning, say good morning. If you're watching the replay, go ahead and give me a hashtag replay in the comments. Let me know that you were here. Let Facebook and YouTube know that you're here. Remember, if you would like a quick reminder that I am going live, you can get a text alert to your phone at hmmr.io/reminder. Sign up there or use this cool QR code right over here. We don't use your phone number for any nefarious purposes. We don't send you anything, and we're not trigger elites, so we're not going to send you things at 3 in the morning. So anyway, if you're here this morning, say good morning. If you're watching the replay, don't forget, just give me a hashtag replay in the comments. I'm noticing a lot less replay. I think the show got too long for replay, so we'll have to focus on the live folks, which there's only 13 of at the moment, but I'm sure that'll hop up. So today we're going to be talking about the government shutdown. Again, it's going to, as long as there's a government shutdown, I think we're going to be talking about it. It's probably the biggest thing that's affecting rates directly at the moment. We're also going to talk about the lonely Fed. Only the lonely. Is that Roy Orbison? I think it was Roy Orbison. Who sang that? I think it was Roy Orbison. And beware the propaganda. We're going to we'll go over that a little bit. Beware the propaganda. But that is what we are talking about today. I'll just pop that down on the bottom here. And there we go. Save. All right. Where is it? There you go. Okay. So I will pop that on there. Let's go ahead and say hi to the live folks, and then we'll jump in and get started with all the good stuff. So who do we got this morning? We got Matt Rasner. We've got Mike Tebow, Monica Dinkins. How do y'all? I got my setup, my regular computer setup up here in the barn. I think the office is going to be the brain. I'm going to call this the brain of the barn. And we got Monica Dinkins, Holly Johnson, Vicky McSweeney. Good morning, Julie Lawrence, Mallory Fotiada. It's great to have you here. Rob Stewart, Mike Morano, Nicole Semerad, Brandy Brickler. Good morning, all. Megan Vassell, Jerry Avila, Stephanie Hale, Michael Love, Harry Dennis, Mike Brown, Randy Tico. Giddy up, sir. Allison Dent. Good morning. I forgot to do the barn tour yesterday. We'll see. Maybe I'll do that today. Especially now that I've got my cell phone, so I can actually do that a little bit. Max Franks, good morning, sunshine. Mike Morano said it was Roy Orbison that sang "Only the Lonely." If you want to find out why I keep talking about the lonely Fed, stick around. I'm going to show that to you in a minute or two. Carly McLeod, good morning as well. Tim Klyla, back from 2 weeks on vacation. Tim, my team needs to get with you to get your website updated onto the new platform. They need you for DNS stuff. That was part of our team meeting yesterday. I said, why is Tim not on the new website platform? So get a hold of Danielle and get connected. We want to get you on that new site. We've got a lot of AI improvements in it for AI search. So we want to get you on there. And I hope you guys had a wonderful vacation. And we broke the government while you were gone. So do apologize for that. Kyle Riddell, good morning. All right, y'all, let's go ahead and let's get started jumping into the good stuff here. Quick recap on where things were at. Let me go ahead and share the screen. All right. I forgot to load Presentify. There we go. Okay. So let's load Presentify. Click that. I wanted to show y'all. Let me pull this up a little bit. Actually, you know what? Let me see. We're going to zoom in. And we're going to slide that over, and I just have to run the screen. There we go. close that out. Okay. So taking a look here, bonds yesterday ended the day pretty well. If we look at like a 5-day average here, you could see where we were at. This was back on, you've got 929, 930, 10-1. So, right here, we're looking at Wednesday, Tuesday, Monday, and then here we had Friday, right? So Friday, we were right about here. Mortgage bonds improved on Monday. And then on Tuesday, kind of lost that ground right here, coming in and basically putting us right about flat. And then Wednesday, as we ran into the government shutdown, look at this. Look at right here. Look at the jump. Look at where we were at right here, and look at where we were at right here with the government shutdown. And the reason that I bring that up is yesterday, if we zoom in a little bit more yesterday, ADP data was given a lot of credit for what was going on with markets. And I say that's bullshit. The ADP data came in with negative numbers. It's showing we can look around everywhere and see that the labor market is truly weakening, right? There's no argument there that it is weakening. We see proof of that. And the reason that's so important is, remember, the Fed has a mandate, two-part mandate. First part is price stability, that's inflation. Second part is maximize employment. And the employment market being weak is going to require the Fed to take action in the form of cutting the Fed funds rate. Now, here's a few things I wanted to kind of go over here, though. So the gains were attributed to the ADP data, but the ADP data came out at 8:30. 8:30, and let me show you that I'm not lying right here. Look at 8:30s right here, 100.95. 100.95. There's 8:30. It actually went down after the ADP data. Then it kind of went up later. This was this was at 919 that we started to creep higher. Talk about a delayed reaction. This is where the ADP data came in. This is where rates finished the day. This is where we saw most of the improvement. This is not. So ADP data was not why we saw improvement yesterday. Saw improvement because of the government shutdown. And the idea here, let me make this screen, let me pull this over. So hold on, let me get rid of this. All right. Ooh. Oh boy, this is. I've got the new operating system on here, and hold on. It's going to take me a second, y'all. Bear with me. Let me move this over here. Put that there. The windows are a little slower, it feels like here. All right, there we go. And let me make this smaller again. Okay. So anyway, rate sheets today are going to be unchanged. Basically, that was one of the odd things that we saw yesterday, is that even though bonds had improved from the day before, you're really not seeing much movement on rate sheets. It seems like rate sheets are having a little bit of a shutdown, kind of like the government. Let me know in the comments if you're seeing that as well. There really wasn't a lot of improvement from day to day on most rate sheets. And then same thing, even when you look at Optimal Blues numbers, we get rid of these. And we'll make this 1 month just so, same thing. There wasn't really, we went from loans being locked at 6.31 on Monday, 6.315 on Tuesday, 6.26. So they're showing more of for some of the locks, they're showing a little bit better than what Mortgage News Daily shows. Reprice risk on the day, though. Bonds are off to a little bit of a weak start this morning, as we talked about. They're down about 6 basis points to start the morning. Nothing to get panicked about. Again, for those of you that are coupon-oriented, the 5.0 coupon is down 6 basis points. The 5.5, which I'm still tracking for some continuity, down 6 basis points. Doesn't matter which one you're looking at. They're doing the same thing. 10-year Treasury yield, though, is at 4.12. That was down more than that yesterday, though. It ended at 4.10. It was like 4.8 for a little while. So it ended at 4.10. It's creeping up a little bit this morning. Actually, it ended – no, that's where it was yesterday, Wednesday, 4.10. This morning, you're at like 4.12. So it's kind of creeping a little bit. Keep that in mind. The outlook is that, rates are likely to hold steady or creep a little bit lower the longer the shutdown goes on. This is one of the articles that I found interesting. Let's see. Nope. There's the lonely Fed. All right. Bond traders boost bets on 10-year rally as the shutdown begins. Bond traders are pumping millions of dollars in options wagers at 10-year treasuries are on the cusp of a rally, which will drive yields to a 5-month low. Now, this article came out yesterday, and the longer that we see the shutdown go on, the more it should support this whole thing happening, right? Traders ramped up the bullish position. Yeah. Traders ramped up the bullish positioning on Tuesday, the day before the U.S. government shutdown, that risks weighing on the economy. And this is the reason why a shutdown is a big deal, because it slows down everything. And the government is a big part of our own engine. We kind of spend our own money, which may cement expectations the Fed will cut interest rates again at the end of October. We've already talked about that. It did, and we'll go to that in a minute. So this is where it talked about like 10-year treasury yields and where they went and how much lower they could go from here. So if we see that kind of reaction, you're going to see mortgage-backed securities improve on that news. But we haven't really, you're not seeing that. Again, when we look at what the Fed is expected to do, let me move this for October. Yesterday, we had a column over here. So still expecting almost 100% expectation that we're going to get a rate cut in October. Markets are pricing that in. But we lost that little bit of ground that was yesterday. That it didn't end the day, so it's not showing up in the chart, but it was over here. And then if we look at the December number, that is still also close to 86, 87%. So big expectations that we're going to see a rate cut in December as well. And then you got to start like thinking longer than that and taking a look. Like in January of 26, a month ago, expectations were that Fed funds rate would be at 3.75. And now that expectation is that it'll be at 3.5 or possibly 3.25. And that was very, very little expectation a month ago. So you could see that was a month ago. This is a week ago. You could see a big jump that there would be continued cuts. So this is what markets are currently pricing in. If this starts to disappear, mortgage rates are going to go higher. All right. So right now, when we see this 10-year treasury yield falling, when you see expectation of Fed rate cuts, but if that starts to all dwindle away, then mortgage rates are going to creep higher, and instead of being in the low sixes, we'll be in the mid sixes, the mid to higher sixes. So keep that in mind. All right. Also, let's go ahead and jump over to the other part that I found kind of funny, and then we'll throw the lock price up there. So the Fed finally gets some backup in their lonely fight to stave off Trump. Now, this is where I talked about down at the bottom when I said, hey, what we're going to talk about today, and I said, beware the propaganda. The propaganda out there, guys, it is so difficult to get through this, because what this stuff is doing is it does one of two things. It either people already agree with it, so they're moving in that direction, or they disagree with it and they stick their feet in the ground. The reason I bring this up is because when you're having conversations with agents and consumers, you've got to be careful. Here in our protected safe space here, you can talk to me, I can talk to you. We talk about this stuff. However, everything has a slant. Look at the propaganda. And again, it can be argued one way or the other. However, everyone has a feeling on it, right? Here's a great example, not mortgage rate related, but just a great example. A 9-month-old baby dies, and I think we can all agree, none of us are sadistic, nasty, evil people. Nobody wants a 9-month-old baby to die. That's a terrible thing. One of the victims of Trump's aid cuts, right? And, so this is the propaganda that's out there. Now, you can have somebody that says, we're spending too much money and we don't belong in Africa, in northern Cameroon, trying to end malaria. That's not our role as a country. And then you can have other people that say, well, if we have the ability to be a part of a solution, we should be doing that. This also applies to this kind of stuff. This is the same kind of propaganda. Why is the Fed in a lonely fight? A lonely fight. Really? I love the use of that word lonely. Really? Like, this is not objective journalism anymore. It really isn't. And you just have to be careful when you're having this conversation. Now, this stuff does matter to us because, like I have over here with the Trump virus here, the Trump Fed virus, right now, the Supreme Court has said Lisa Cook can stay in her spot until the Supreme Court has heard arguments. Now, one of the interesting things that I saw here is that when it comes to the Supreme Court arguments, the Supreme Court, since Trump returned to office, the court has acted on 23 cases on an emergency basis involving his policies, siding with him fully or partially 21 times. All right. So maybe this won't turn out the way I think it will. We will see. But in the meantime, just be careful with this stuff. Watch the conversations that you're having. Don't get caught up in the propaganda. It just, especially the shutdown is the same kind of thing. I see two sides to the shutdown. People are like, the Democrats are holding it up. And then other people are like, the Republicans and Trump. It's never the Republicans anymore, notice. It's always the Democrats and Trump. The Democrats and Trump. Any articles that I see, have you guys noticed that? Let me know in the comments. And I'm going to switch to full screen in a minute. But have you guys seen that everything is always the Democrats and Trump? It's not the Republicans anymore. It's very rarely the GOP. What does that mean? Randy, you got it dialed in, my friend. What does that mean? Objective media reporting. And that's the thing. So be careful what you're out there. Remember, I posted on Facebook. Some people got it. A lot of people don't. Haters going to hate. Defender's going to defend. And earner's going to earn. Be an earner. Don't get sucked in. And it's hard. I have a hard time on this one too. So, but when it comes to the government shutdown stuff, anything that you're putting out there is just realize it's very likely that it's going to have commenting that has a bias of for or against one side or the other. Just be careful on that. Remember, you're about getting loans. I got to remind myself of this one too, all the time these days. I got to remind myself. So we don't want to get too caught up in that. We're not here to discuss the merits of either side and defend or debate. I would love to do that in a different forum, but that's not what we're here for. What the bottom line is that we're seeing a lot of tactics being taken with the shutdown, and it makes me wonder how long it will stay around. Now, remember, the first thing that we have to kind of come to terms with is that the shutdown is helping to keep rates lower. The reason that it's helping to keep rates lower is because it is pushing the jobs data further down the road. Now, the jobs data will probably show weakness, and it could help a little bit, but you're not going to see, even if we got really weak jobs data, it wasn't going to push rates that much lower. Rates are kind of at that low point. However, if it showed any kind of strength or was disappointing, you're going to see it make things worse. So it really could only hurt us when you look at that. So let me answer some of your questions real quick, because that is a great one. So Max said, might be a silly question. It's not. How does lowering the overnight funds rate affect employment growth? So the idea is that when the Fed lowers the overnight rate, which is the shortest of all rates, it does affect and trickle into other low near-term rates, not long-term, but near-term rates, right? And it makes borrowing for businesses cheaper, especially big business, mid-sized businesses. And if businesses can borrow and increase capital, they're able to move faster for growth to make more money, which means that they would need to hire people to grow. And that is generally kind of how things work. When money dries up, businesses dry up, they slow down when there's no capital. A lot of times, remember, businesses need to borrow money. Like car dealerships don't buy every car that's on their car lot. They do what's called floor planning. They're borrowing money and they're paying a interest on the cars that are on their car lot while they're selling them. And that's why they're looking to move those on. Now, if you're borrowing money at 2% versus 4%, you can borrow more money, have more cars on your lot, and therefore increase sales. You can have more cars, which means you might want more salespeople. You could do more advertising. That's the idea of how lower borrowing costs can spur economic growth, which spurs labor growth, if that makes sense, Max. Hopefully that explained it pretty well. Do you have the daily post we can do? You mean my written lock advice? I haven't finished it yet, but I'll send it out when I'm done here. The GOP has lost its soul. Trump owns it. Again, I don't want to go too far down the politics road, but I don't disagree with you there. It just seems like it's always, the media leans into it hard, and it's always the Democrats versus Trump on that. So rates stayed the same, pricing was better. Robert, good. All right, I'm going through your comments, y'all, so I appreciate your comments. So it wasn't being reflected on the sources. I don't go directly to rate sheets that often, so I didn't see it there. Will, you had a price deterioration in the morning? Really? I don't know why you would have gotten a price deterioration in the morning. That's strange. I think I answered all of your questions. All right. So, and Max, you said that's tracking. Cool. So anyway, my friends, taking a look at this with the idea, I'll finish the thought and then we'll wrap up for the day. We're at 20 minutes. So the idea that the shutdown is going to affect the economy. It slows down the economy. And but you're seeing there's a lot of things being done to force hands on this stuff. So, for example, here's an article where the White House is freezing funds for Democratic states and cities in the shutdown. Targeted programs like $18 billion for transit projects in New York. Home to Congress's two top Democrats, $8 billion for green energy in 16 Democratic-run states. So this is Trump trying to squeeze it from that side. The other part is here. Where is the part about firing people? It's funny. It's not. It might be on Bloomberg that they're talking about it, but Trump to talk federal job cuts with White House budget chief. Again, you have to wonder if the government wasn't shut down, these cuts weren't going to happen. So, it seems punitive. It doesn't seem like it's tracks the right way, but we'll see. And, but at the end of the day, this is the pressure that's being put on from that side to get people to come across the fence. And they just need, I think it was they need probably 8 Democrats, because Rand Paul and the Republican side did not vote for the stopgap bill. So I think they needed 8 Democrats. Correct me if I'm wrong, y'all, if you guys know. But I think they needed 8 Democrats to break lines, and that would basically end this. So we'll see how far this goes. Today is Yom Kippur, so again, anybody that's celebrating that, I don't know much about that. So, but no Senate today. They're gone. They're out for the day. They were released yesterday. They'll be back tomorrow, and then they're supposed to stay for the weekend. So we could see this break over the weekend. We have to be careful as we head into Monday, because if they do come to a deal over the weekend, you would see volatility on Monday. So keep that in mind, and we'll talk more about that tomorrow. Today's Thursday, so we've got Friday to talk about that. So. All right, my friends. Well, I'm going to wrap it up. Thank you again for joining me. Hope today helped you. And if it did, please let me know in the comments. Even if you tell me every day, it's okay. I just want to know. The fact that you guys show up means that it's a lot. So, John Melnick, good morning, sir. All right, I'm going to go send out that written email and the text message, and then we'll be out of here. So, as far as a barn tour, anybody that wants to stick around, I will do that tomorrow. I'll cut off a little early tomorrow, and we'll do it. It's Friday. That's a good Friday thing. So I will do that tomorrow. Randy, please join me, and I would love to show you my progress on the barn. All right, my friend. Take care, everybody, and have a great one. Bye-bye.